Welcome to the SwimSwam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges. This should be called the SwimSwam podcast after hours. It's 10 p.m. right now. I'm only doing a podcast at 10 p.m. On Thanksgiving Day because we are with my man, one of my favorite swimmers on planet Earth. He's coming to us live from Brisbane, Australia. You probably know him as the 5-time Commonwealth Youth Games champion from 2015. I'm just kidding. That is true, but he's a world champion. He's a senior Commonwealth Games champion. Clyde Lewis. What's up, man? How's it going?
Thank you, Coleman. He's giving me the rap of the year to start it off. But yes, it's good to be on the show. Finally.
It's summer in Australia, or it's getting warm. You have a nice sunburny tan there. I see your hair's nice and bleached. You're looking good. What's going on in Brisbane?
It's just really hot. It's starting to heat up coming into December. As you said, I am sunburnt permanently from about August onwards through to maybe March or April, since I swim outside. But not much is going on in Brisbane. It's been pretty quiet. We don't have those Black Friday rushes like you guys seem to do over there. But Christmas is coming up, so we're all keen to have a good hot Christmas, I think.
I'm so jealous of you guys. I live in Texas, so like the weather here is still very agreeable. But it's not very cold here right now. But like a sunny, sweaty Christmas with low consumerism just sounds so nice. Like you said,
it is nice.
Like you said, like Black Friday, people get freaking insane here, man.
Yeah, we don't get that. I think that's a good thing. Because they'd have to catch these hands, man, if I didn't get that PS5.
Dude, seriously, did you get your hands on one?
I didn't. I did not get my hands on the PS5.
I feel like no one. I feel like bots did, and that's about it. Okay, people are gonna start complaining if we don't talk about swimming. So
okay, let's talk about some swimming.
So most recently, you were slated to be on the Cali Condors, which ended up being the winning team of the 2020 ISL season. What have you been doing with your last 6 weeks besides just wallowing in misery that you weren't in Budapest?
Well, you've really hit the nail on the head there. So I didn't find out that I wasn't going to go until maybe like a week before I was supposed to leave. So we were just so there was so much uncertainty with us, and there was just so much back and forth with Swimming Australia and our Australian government, because they were just super strict on us, and we had to apply for like all these different exemptions to leave. And it ended up being that Swimming Australia wasn't ready to support us Aussie athletes. So they sort of incentivized us not to go by like saying they're not going to support us and like not going to help us if we get stuck over there. So my coach made the decision, because there was 5 of us that was supposed to be in ISL, and he said, look guys, it's probably safe. It's way safer to stay here. So I was pretty cut about that. I was so excited because we'd done nothing all year. We just trained, and like no one likes to just train. So that's all I've been doing. I've just been training. But I wish I was over there because it looked so competitive, and it went like up from last year. And watching it and hearing the results, I think, damn, like I wish I was there.
I feel you. They didn't let media in. I was very salty as well to be left out of Budapest. Like you said, it looked crazy. It looked competitive. When you're training for this long, I think you guys have, a virtual competition or two, which certainly isn't the same, but how do you stay motivated? What have you been doing in practice that has helped with that?
Well, that's actually been like the hardest thing for me, because I just love getting out and about. And to do my job isn't to train, my job is to race. And I'm so used to racing every couple of months. And we actually have a virtual meet tomorrow, and it's the first meet this year we've had where it's pretty serious. Like people are showing up kind of rested and ready to go. Like, so it's been real up and down for me because I was just getting so sick of training, and I had a few arguments with the coach and had a few blow-ups, but we've gotten through it, and we finally get to start racing. And we've got we've got a state meet in about 2.5 weeks. So I think everyone's just real itchy to get some racing in.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that's it's hard to keep the motivation up, right? Hard to keep the spirit up. I mean, describe your situation, I guess, starting in March or April, when things really first got locked down. What have these last 6 months looked like for you?
Yeah, so when it was starting to, really go downhill, our coach was just going, guys, it'll be fine. Like, it's gonna happen. Just don't listen to any of the news outlets. And then within like 2 hours, everything's gone. And I'm thinking, good thing he said everything's going to be all right. And then we all came in for a group meeting, and he went from the morning being, it's on, to the afternoon being like, look, guys, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what you're doing, but I guess just take a couple of weeks off and we'll see where we go from there. So it was like a big shift in emotions. And it didn't really like hit me until about 2 weeks into just doing nothing. And my roommate had gone to Melbourne just before so I'm in Brisbane, had just gone to Melbourne before the borders closed. And I was just so bored, and like no one was doing anything. And I was just going crazy in my room, doing nothing all day. And when it finally started easing, because Australia didn't get that bad, thankfully. And especially Brisbane, like Melbourne and Victoria were the ones that got bad. But after about 6 weeks, we could start like getting out and having a coffee together and stuff like that. And I was just so stoked on that because it was so boring. I just could not do it. I never want to do that ever again. So we went back to training, and we sort of eased into it because we knew like there's nothing to train for at the moment at that time. So we just eased back into it. And I spent some time training with a couple other programs on the weekend just to catch up with people and just mix it up a bit, because I knew it was going to be the same thing for about a year with no racing. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. We've been training all the way through. We got into like some pretty hard stuff and back into our normal schedule in maybe, I don't know, August or September. And we started ramping it up from there. But before then, it was super chill. Like, you just rock up and paddle away for an hour or so, and then you go home. It's been good.
Nice. Yeah. That does not sound fun to me. Just not being able to race, not knowing what's in the future. And obviously everyone's in the same boat, but yeah, you said it. It's just he's going crazy, not seeing people. It's wild.
Yeah. And like Melbourne went into like a full lockdown, or Victoria did, and they were way worse than we were in Queensland. I don't know how they were doing it. Like, you would see on their Instagram stories them just like taking pictures of like cars outside. They're going like, oh man, that's a good looking car. And you're like, is this like the most exciting thing that's going on in your day? Like, I do not envy you at all.
Dude, yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Texas is, I don't know, maybe not as safe as I personally think they could have been, but yeah, they're like, it's pretty. People can go out here, and for me personally, it's been
that's
nice.
Something.
It's been nice, yeah. So, yeah, no swimming. It's weird. What are you swimming this weekend? Give us a little sneak peek at the event lineup.
A little sneak peek. So it's just a virtual short course nationals, because we usually have our short course nationals at this time of the year. So I think most states are just doing it on the same day roughly, and then you just like combine the results. But I'm doing 100 free and 200 free. It's just heats. And then at night, we're just doing a couple relays. So it's nothing crazy. It's just getting a taste again. And especially since we are starting a taper for our state championships in 2 weeks. So this will sort of like throw us into the taper.
Okay.
We're hoping with some fast swimming.
So you're gonna get a little rest. What you thinking, like 139, 40, 45 low? That sound about right?
Yeah, I think that'd be all right. Maybe a 38, something like that. I don't know. I've been seeing the results from ISL, and they were going bloody quick. I think Duncan went a 140. That's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Who else was there?
I mean,
the 20.1. That was pretty nuts.
That was pretty nuts.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty good.
he went 45.0, and then Duncan with his 140. Yeah, that was crazy. This a lot
45.0.
Yeah,
it's really not messing around, is it?
Really not. He broke like 17 world records. I don't know. It's crazy. But yeah, so you get to race for the first time. Let's enough about the boring here and now. Let's take it back to when you could race. I actually do want to talk about these 2015 Commonwealth Youth Games. This meet looks like a banger for you. You won 8 medals, 5 gold, 2 silver, 1 bronze. They were in Samoa. Tell me about this experience.
So this meet came straight off the back of our junior world championships in Singapore, and it was like roughly the same team. And we were in Samoa. It was beautiful. I loved Samoa, but the vibe was just so relaxed. Like we were getting around in the back of a ute driven by like this lovely Samoan lady, and we just get in the tray, and she'd drive us around, and she'd go, "All right, kids, get in the tray." And we go, yes, all right, we'll get in the tray. And we'd rock up to the pool, and they had a very good facility. Like it was unbelievable. It was all indoors, like 2 pools. It was crazy. Like I did not expect it. But that meet, I was coming off a pretty successful junior worlds, and that was the first international meet I'd ever done. So I was really hyped up. And they sort of just threw me in events that also weren't my best. So I did a lot of events, and I just charged on, and I guess got a few golds, and like, what more could you want, really?
Yeah, I mean, you did 2 free, 4 IM, 2 IM, 100 back, 50 back, no 200 back, but
didn't make the cut.
Ton of relays. I mean, what do you remember from that meet specifically? Just was it racing? Was it a certain race? Was it a certain relay? Was it a certain teammate? What memories do you have from that competition?
Well, I was so switched on the whole time because I knew I had a busy schedule, and I also wanted to continue my success from junior worlds. And I was very unsure about like my career at the time. I'd never even done anything with swimming, so I was like, I wonder like what I could do with this. And by every race I was really stoked with, and I thought, like maybe I can be a professional athlete. Like I'd never considered it really before, and like it was the year I'd finished school, so I'd committed all my energy into swimming, and it just proved to me that I could make a career out of it. And after the meet, I thought, hell yeah, let's go for a senior team next year or something. And it all just sort of snowballed from there. It just gave me a lot of confidence and made me actually believe that I could do it.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. It was awesome. It felt like so powerful to actually have it all pay off, I guess.
Yeah. And so you have this breakthrough moment where, again, I didn't even mention World Juniors. You won the 2 IM at World Juniors. You got silver on the 4x200 relay. And then you go to this Commonwealth Youth Games, 8 medal haul, really big performance. So you're like, okay, maybe I can be a pro athlete. Maybe I can be on a senior team. Take me through what comes next, because I think it, you didn't medal again on the senior international stage until 2018.
Yeah. So from there, there's a massive transition to make because you're not just racing under 18s or under 19s, like you're racing the men. And I was 18 or 19, and these blokes are huge, big. I was just a scrawny little rat, really. And I knew I had to make massive shifts in my swimming and in my gym, especially because I'd never really taken gym seriously. And I thought I can make a massive shift in my strength, especially being a late teenager as well. So for the next the next year, which was Rio, I knew I wasn't ready for Rio. Like I kind of didn't want the Olympics to be my first senior crack because I'd rather be on a world's team and build my way up. But I still obviously would have loved to be on it. I just didn't expect to. So the following year at the trials, I ended up getting third in the 400 medley. And even though I got third, I remember just claiming it because I was just so stoked. I don't think I've ever seen anyone else claim a third at a nationals, but
Yeah.
I remember afterwards I went up to my coach and he said, "You just missed Olympics by like a second." I thought, that's pretty good. Like that's a lot better than I thought I would have done. So missing Olympics at the end of the year was the World Short Course Championships in Windsor. And I thought, like, after Olympics, most of the big dogs have a break and take it easy and sometimes even just skip World Short Course. So that's my best chance. So I just trained with that in mind. I ended up making it and I was super happy about that. So that was like my transition, I guess, from a junior to a senior team.
Yeah. And so then you go to Windsor. What did you get from that first big dog experience of racing not these boys but these men?
Yeah, it was exciting because I was seeing myself as one of these big men. I thought I've made the team. Like I'm one of these guys now. I'm not just someone that they look down at. They see me as a competitor. And I remember after trials when I made the team, my coach was like, "Don't you dare go out tonight and celebrate." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to go out." I ended up going out and celebrating. And I just woke up. I woke up the next day and I just felt so bad. I was vomiting. I had this bad stomach bug, and I thought Dean he's going to kill me. Like, so I had to try and recover from that in about 3 weeks because I had a 400 IM, and that's not messing around. You got to be pretty fit for a 400 IM. So I had to try extra hard to get better from vomiting for a few days. But I ended up doing really well at World Short Course, and I went faster in my 400 medley, I'm pretty sure. And we ended up I think we got fourth in the 4x2. And like that was huge for me. I'd never been in a senior relay, and that was the highlight of the meet for me. Because I think I led off and I was just having the best time watching everyone finish. And like, even though we came fourth, I was just going nuts the whole time, just yelling and carrying on. And I look at that and I think nothing's really changed. I still yell and carry on no matter what happens. And I think that's just what I love about racing, because I'm a very expressive person and I just express how happy I am to be there and how happy I am to represent my country, as everyone is. But I just think it's so great that I can express that.
I couldn't agree more, because I've never talked to someone, I've never heard of someone celebrating a third place at a trials or a fourth place at a relay as much as that. But that's awesome, because those things should be celebrated, even though they're not, like the goal. Sometimes
it's they're not the pinnacle. It's still a great achievement. And like, I saw it as an achievement to even be selected to be on this relay and to even lead off the relay. Like, what an honor it is to lead off my country's relay. Like, I was just so happy to do that. And they still put me first. And I just see that as like such an honor, and that they respect me as an athlete. They trust that I can lead the relay off with a good time and smash the wall, get a good changeover. And I just see that as such a good vision on me.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, I wish more swimmers had this. I wish more people had this mindset. Because it's a good, it's very positive. All right, so let's talk 2018 now. Heading into the Commonwealth Games, you swam 2 IM, 4 IM there. It's again, you've been to. I think as Americans, we don't really understand the Commonwealth Games, right? Because we're not a part of it. But it's a big deal.
That's fair.
It's a big deal to those who go. Can you describe the lore, the vibe of a Commonwealth Games?
The lore. Well, it was in Queensland, so it was on the Gold Coast. So every man and his dog wanted to be on the Commonwealth Games team, because you're an Australian. You will never, I will never get to do that again. No one in my generation of athletes will get to swim internationally in their own country. And that was such a crucial team for me to make. Like, I desperately wanted to make that team. And the Australian public put the Commonwealth Games on the same level as the Olympics, even though it's nowhere near that. But they perceive it as the exact same thing. So there's so much hype, and everyone I remember the stands were it was an outdoor pool, and you don't race in outdoor pools anymore internationally. And you couldn't even see the top, given that I didn't have my glasses on, but I couldn't really see the top of the stands, and everyone's just cheering, and they've all got the Aussie flags, and you never see that many Aussie supporters. So everyone wanted to make that team, and I think I did a really good job there. And I think I embraced what it means to be on the Commonwealth team really well. And I really cherish being on that team. It was such a great time.
I mean, like you said, you make the team, and then to not only perform well at a home meet, to have that experience of swimming at one of the biggest international meets in your home state, but to win your first big international gold at a meet like that. I mean, take me through that race. You won the 400 IM. What was that experience like? What was that day like?
That was such a strange day, because I hadn't even qualified for the 400 IM, and I hadn't done any training for it. I was actually training for the 200 IM, because I was and the 400 is so hard. I really don't want to train for that. So, but I ended up getting put in it, which is kind of ironic, because it's not what I wanted to do. But I thought, you know what, I cannot, just throw this away because I didn't train for it. So I hadn't done one in a couple years or something, in a year. And I hadn't done a PB in a couple years. And I thought, what the hell? This isn't something that I usually take. This isn't my serious event. I'm concentrating on the 200. And I sort of really chilled out in my head. And I learned a lot from that race, because I just didn't let myself get caught up in how serious the event was, I guess. So I did the heat. I went real close to my PB, and I went easy. I was so surprised at how close I went going easy. And I thought that night, how good would it be to win? In front of all the Aussies, to have a win. And it was going to be, if I did win, it would be the first win out of anyone in my squad. So I was I'd really like to take the first win. So that night I did it, and I turned after the breaststroke, and I had a Scotsman beside me, and he was charging, and I went into this crazy mindset. I was like, if I don't win, I will die. Like, I will die if I don't win. It was kind of messed up, but I just charged the last 100. I don't think I breathed for like the last 12 meters. And that's why like everyone remembers this race from my interview because I was like collapsing and falling into a chair and stuff like that and just carrying on. But I think I touched the wall after not breathing for 12 meters and then just carried on for about 3 minutes celebrating and stuff. So I didn't actually breathe for three or 4 minutes. And I'm walking over to the interview and I'm just like so lightheaded and full over. And I find it funny that everyone remembers that rather than me winning. They're like, oh, remember that time you passed out doing an interview? I'm like, yeah, that was pretty funny, wasn't it? So, yeah, it was a very interesting day. And I remember seeing my mum and my dad in the stands as I did the victory lap. And my dad he'd had a few grogs and he was super happy with me. He was going off with his friends in the stands. And it was just super happy to see my family be with me in that moment and that I actually was able to spot them. So that's that's a picture I really remember. Yeah.
Yeah. Not only to have the home games, but to have the family support too. That seems unforgettable, especially when they get to see you collapse during the interview.
Yeah. And even more that like my family probably wouldn't be able to come see me race internationally if it wasn't within driving distance of where we live, because it's a big like financial commitment to take time off work and stuff like that to fly over to like Budapest to watch me race for a week. So it was just super, all the stars just fell in line, I guess, for them to be there and watch me do that.
Which is super cool. And that's a good transition. Let's take it back even further. I mean, tell me about you just growing up, how you got into swimming. What piqued your interest for swim?
Well, the funny thing is I wasn't really that interested in it for a long time. I just did it because my mum made me, I guess, for pool safety and surf safety and stuff like that. And I just saw it as more of a social sport until I was probably 16, which doesn't mean I wasn't doing well at it. I was still applying myself and actually getting decent results state and nationally, but I never really flicked the switch in my head until I finished high school. And which I have no regrets about, because a lot of the people that I grew up swimming with that did take it very seriously, they no longer swim because they just went too hard too early and burnt themselves out and they weren't interested in it anymore. Whereas I just saw it as a time to have fun with my mates and just swim on the side, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's
it. Did you play other sports growing up? Did you have other interests besides swimming?
Yeah, so in primary school, I played a lot of different sports, which I guess would be, what's primary school for you guys? Like elementary school?
Yeah.
From like when I was 6 till, yeah. I played like cricket and softball. I did cross country and I did a lot of things. But then in high school, I went to a program whose coach was Matt Brown. He was Emily Seebohm's coach when she was at her peak in 2008. And he just was not keen on me playing any other sports. And I went to a sporting school and I was like, come on, man, I just want to play footy. I want to play tennis and volleyball. And he was like, no, you're swimming. That's it. Swim, swim, swim. So I wasn't too happy about that. But thankfully I was in a program with both lots of people and lots of people in different age groups. So I was one of the youngest and there were people up to like 20. So I got to be exposed to, I guess, an adult program from when I was 12 years old, which I think really helped me mature fast as an athlete, because I could see how they behaved instead of being in a group of people who are 12. And that's just messing around, really. If you're around a bunch of 12-year-olds, like you're probably not getting any good work done.
Probably not too mature when you're 12. Was there was there a specific athlete there that you kind of, tried to model yourself after or really looked up to, or was it kind of just the group?
Yeah, there was. So there were two boys. Their names were Buster and Jared, and they were very successful swimmers. And they were in year 12 when I was in year 8, so about 4 or 5 year difference. And I really looked up to them. They were both great mates. And I can't wait to have a mate like this, because they were both just like this. They were inseparable. I thought how cool that was. And they were so fast, and they, I guess I just looked up to them as like, damn, they're the cool kids. Like, I'm going to be like them, sort of thing. But then, as I got older and they retired and stuff like that, I started to see myself as a leader of the squad rather than the follower, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like watching them train and how they behave and their athlete mindset, again, I just absorbed all of that and put it into practice, which is, I guess, they formed who I am as an athlete, which is great.
That is great. I mean,
they were great mentors.
To have role models like that is a really cool thing, for sure. Nice. So, do you feel like you had mentors like that on your, the first time you went on a junior team trip or a senior team trip? Do you have guys that you looked up to on those kinds of trips?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, especially going into the senior teams, everyone just was so supportive, and they really got around me, which is great, because I've heard stories of how in the past, in say 2010, they weren't supportive of the young fellas, and if they had a bad swim, they would just not talk to them. They would, sort of look down on them, and that is so unhealthy for a young swimmer or a young person, even, to have their idols and their peers to get into you like that. So I was really grateful that everyone was so supportive and got behind us young fellas. And we do that now to all the young boys, and even the guys on the junior team. We are seeing them at state meets and national meets, seeing them come through the ranks, and we're getting behind them, because they are going to be after us when we retire, and they need to beat us, really.
Again, that seems like a good mindset to have. You gotta get the young kids up, and they need to beat us, right? It's not like, oh, you can't beat me. You're just a kid. It's like, no, you need to be beating me. Because that's how they're gonna grow, right?
Yeah.
So you have this experience in 2018 that is really cool. You're able to win gold at a home meet in front of your family. Let's cut to 2019. The World Championships, your first long course World Championships, right? Did you go in 2017?
I was there in 2017. That was my first long course,
okay.
But I didn't have. It was more just like an introduction again for me. I feel like I didn't sprout, I guess, then at 2017. I was still young and inexperienced, and I guess just finding where I am and what stroke I even do, stuff like that. So yeah.
you're getting your legs under you.
Yeah, pretty much.
So talk to me about your mindset coming into the 2019 World Championships. What were you thinking? Where was your head at coming into that meet?
So the start of that year was a pretty rough year for me. I I'd ended my first like long-term relationship. I moved out of my first apartment, and I was just like going through all these young person problems, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I was just battling for a couple months, and then I just flicked the switch and thought like, I want to go 144. Like, I would love to go 144. No one has gone 144 in a couple years, and I don't care if I get sixth going 144, first going 144. I'm going 144. So I just really committed, and that was the first, I guess, preparation where I took it into my own hands. Like, I was having conversations with my coach saying like, I need to do this. I feel like I need to do this. I need your support on this. And he was loving it. He was so on board with it because he could see me being so passionate about this goal. And he was just so happy that I was telling him, not him telling me. So for about 3 months, I just went nuts at training, and I was doing so much extra stuff to try and achieve this goal because I knew the magnitude of the goal. Like, I had to drop over a second, and like only one Australian's ever gone 144. So I knew how big of a task this was. And when I did it at Worlds, I didn't care that it wasn't in the final or that it didn't really mean anything in the final. I was just so stoked to have done that. And like, that was my victory. Like, I'd achieved my goal. And a lot of people ask me like, man, it would have been good to do that in the final. I think, yeah, it would have been good to do that in the final, but it didn't bother me in the slightest because I was just so happy to have achieved the goal that I'd set for that meet.
That's really great to hear. Again, similar mindset to happy getting fourth in the relay, happy getting third at trials. It's like you reached your goal. You did this really cool thing, and that's an achievement in and of itself. That was I vividly remember watching Worlds, at Mel Stewart's house, my boss's house, with like 7 a.m. here or whatever. We're watching semis of the 200 free, and it's just like, who is this Aussie kid who's going out in 50 point? Like, what?
Yeah.
Out of lane 1, and then you go 144 and you're just going nuts. And we're like,
Yeah.
Who is this guy?
The funny thing is, I remember I looked at the board and I saw 144, and my first thought was, do I carry on or do I just chill out and save myself? I thought, stuff that, I'm carrying on. I've done my job. And then I just celebrated and did all that. And I think that's great. Like, a lot of people wouldn't do that, but I think stuff it. You only do things like that once in your life or a couple of times in your life. And most people don't get an opportunity to do something great broadcasted to the world. So I was just vibing it, I guess, is the phrase that you could use. And I was so happy. Like, that's it. I was just so happy with my result. And I remember walking back, and people that had never even like looked at me, like, were coming up to me saying, man, that was such a good swim. And I just felt like, wow, I've really made like a stand for myself and like stamped myself into the professional swimming world. Like, I remember James Guy came up to me, and I'd never met James Guy. And when he came up to me, I didn't recognize him. I didn't know who he was. And he was like, man, that was so sick. Like, thanks, man. Like, that was sick, wasn't it? And, yeah, just heaps of people. Gregorio Paltrineri came up to me and said something, and I just felt so embraced by the swimming community for something that wasn't like, I didn't win the final. It was in a semi-final. They were just so excited to have seen a surprise. Like, no one expected it. I didn't expect it.
Yeah. Yeah. Such a cool swim. 144.9. Like you said, only one other Australian's done it. I mean, what? Maybe, I don't know, 10 or 15 men in history have done it. I think.
Yeah.
So, it's semifinal, prelims, final, state meet. It's a big deal no matter where it is.
Yeah.
So you swim the final, and the results happens, and
Mm.
then you get to get up again for the 4x2 relay.
Yes.
Take me through that, because I mean I talked to Mac about it. I'm talking to you about it now, but like that race was just freaking insane. I mean, there were five
Yeah.
teams, five teams, like all within a second of each other at the end. Basically all tied
Yeah.
it going into the last length. Yeah, give me the breakdown on the 4x2.
Okay. So, um, I didn't have to swim the heat. I was just swimming in the final. So I watched the boys get us into the final, and we were just so stoked on that. And the boys were stoked with how they went, and the two that unfortunately didn't make the cut for the final, they were stoked for us. They weren't disappointed. They were going, "You boys are going to do something great tonight. We can feel it." They were getting around us, and us four had just bonded really hard over the idea of perhaps winning this race, because it had been proposed to us by our 4x200 coach in January, saying like, "You boys can win this," and we're going, "Oh yeah, good one." Like, you can't just say you'll win this. But I think after me and Kyle did the 200, um, the other boys were getting around us and getting us real keen for it, and we actually believed that we can do it. And I was swimming the fastest I've ever swam in my life. Kyle was swimming the fastest he's ever swam in his life. Alex was. Mac went a 144. He won us the race. You could say that, like 144. That's nuts. So I led off. And the best part about leading is by the time the race is over, you got your breath back. So I'm just sitting there relaxing after my race, and everyone's still got to go. But it was surreal. Like, after Alex went a 145.0, which was phenomenal. And after I watched him touch the wall, I thought, like, we have a shot here. Like, of all the times to have a shot, it's right now. And just watching everyone turn with 50 to go at the same time, I was yelling things that luckily weren't picked up by the microphone over my head. And when he touched the wall, it was just like, I felt like we all just felt like God. Like, we were just the pinnacle. We were like, we are the pinnacle of swimming this year in the 4x200 freestyle. And we were just on top of the world. Like, we were on top of the world. Like, you could say that we were on top of the world. Like, that's it. And we were just so happy to be in that moment together. And I remember Mac coming up to me like a day after, and he said to me, "That was the highlight of my swimming career." And that's coming from a man that has won an Olympic gold individual medal.
Yeah.
And he came up to me and said, "That was the highlight of my career." And I thought, that is unbelievable that, like, that he thinks that, and that I was a part of that for him. And he was a part of that. Like, we were all just in it together, and it was real brotherhood. And it still is. Like, we still talk to each other, not about that, but about going beyond for next year, and like, how can we do better? Like, what are our goals for next year and stuff like that. So it's still evolving, and we're still riding off that energy.
Goosebumps.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, just watching that race, obviously, not seeing America win for me was like, oh man. But like, I like, in a race like that, you can't even be mad about it, because it was just like that sport, like it just down to the wire. Such good tactics. It was crazy. And yeah, I mean, to see the elation that you guys had, it was like That's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. And like Australia hadn't won that in a very long time. So we were just so proud to have done that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Thorpe and all that messaged us saying, good job, boys. And like, you get a message from Thorpe, you can't not be pretty stoked about that, right?
You can't not be stoked about that. Okay, so I don't want to. A couple more topics we've got to cover. So ISL season 1, you're on the New York Breakers. Just take me through what ISL meant to you, just being a part of it, that racing, that environment. What was your experience like?
Well, ISL season 1, everyone was excited about it. It was something different. It was a new format. It was more entertainment focused, which is something a lot of us swimmers had theorized for a long time. Like, how can our sport evolve? And ISL was the answer to that. And it is the answer to that. Like, it is entertaining, competitive. It's there's rivalry between teams, and it's just so exciting to see something fresh. And being on the New York Breakers, I was stoked to be picked because I signed before Worlds. So really, I wasn't anyone. I just got picked, and I was happy to just be picked. And I was on the team with you. You were our media manager, and that's where I first met you, which is also a very big highlight of the ISL season 1 for me, if I should say that to the audience.
My biggest highlight.
That's it. But ISL just, it changed the game for swimming. And a lot of people were saying like, oh, ISL is just for the casuals, Worlds is for the serious swimmers. But we've seen this year that ISL is most and for all for competitive swimmers. Like, we have had such fast swimming this year. And I just love the idea of a team and like regular racing. And you can see it as any other sport, like football, Formula One. Every sport has a season where they race or they play week to week. And I think that's what we as athletes need, because the more race experience you get and exposure, the better. And I'm kind of tired of just training for 360 days for one meet. Like, it's just not, it's not as fun. You know, you don't get to do your job as often. So I love the ISL, and that's why I was so upset about not being able to go this year, because it's so refreshing instead of doing the same thing that I've been doing for the past 10 years.
And as a fan, it's refreshing also to see racing that often with all of the, you know, the best swimmers in the world, and you have, like you said, the team rivalries. Yeah, it's great. It's so much more fun, and that is
and it's so much more audience friendly, I think, because instead of it going for a week and there's like 3 events a night, you have back to back events on the same night. And it's interesting to see how athletes back up race to race. Like, you never see that at a world championships. Most people have 1 race a night, whereas people might have up to three or 4 races in a meet. And it's just so interesting to see how well people back up. And it makes you really appreciate the work that they've done to be able to do that.
Yeah. And yeah, again, you know, you have the people who say, well, no, I need like my block of training, or I need, you know, I can't race that much. It's like, dude, if you're throwing down world-class times back to back, like that's training, you know, that is
the best form of training. Yeah.
All right, so moving forward, to wrap things up here, you know, you've got the meet this weekend. Like you said, you've got state championships in a couple of weeks that you're coming down for. So after that, you know, do you have short-term goals? Obviously, Olympics are on the horizon, but just in the next few months, what are you trying to do to keep things fresh, to not just kind of get lost in that? Well, here we're back to training again.
Yeah. So the start of the year is going to be back to normal from what we can see. We've got our national relay event camps, which we do every year. So all us 4x200 boys get together and do a week of training. I'm spending 3 weeks traveling around Australia. So I'll spend a week in Melbourne with Mac, and I'll spend a week with Kyle in Adelaide, and I'll spend a week on the Gold Coast just to be with my teammates and do a block of training with them, because it's so exciting and refreshing to be with people that you haven't seen in a while, and throw down some good sessions. And it's nice to spice stuff up every now and then. So I'm super excited to get back into a routine of getting around and racing and training with different people and getting the ball rolling for Olympics, because once January 1st ticks over, like, it's on, like, it's the Olympic year. So you got to pull your finger out and do some good work. And what better way to do it than with your teammates that you race with?
His final question is, you said you guys have these relay camps, which I think is awesome. Is there a memorable session or a practice that you guys have had together that really sticks out in your mind? Is like, oh yeah, we threw down today, and this is what built us.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we've done like back to back 50s of best average, and you just keep going, and you just see all your boys hurting, but they're hurting with you, and you just keep going because we all have the same goal. Like, we're all working towards the same goal. And last year it worked. Like, we were all committed to it. And whenever someone is starting to hurt, you're hurting with them. They know you're hurting with them. It's just great because you both are committed to the goal. Like, no one's backing down, which is great. And that's what you want in a relay.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Clyde, Lewis, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and talk with me. Dude, it's always a pleasure. I love seeing you, man.
It was a pleasure. Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thanks very much for having me on the show.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.